The ink had barely dried when Elena Hart realized she had just signed away the last thing she thought she had left. Her marriage. Her home. Her future. She sat alone in a cold attorney's office, staring at the divorce papers while rain crawled down the tall windows behind her. Her fingers trembled, but she refused to cry. She had cried for months, cried in the bathroom where no one could see her, cried into pillows at 3 in the morning, cried while the chauffeur assured her that she was not in danger, that everything had been arranged legally, and that she could refuse the flight if she wanted. Elena almost said no. Then she looked down at her suitcase. She had nowhere else to go. So she got into the car. The drive to the private airport felt unreal. Elena watched the city pass through the rain-streaked window and remembered another version of herself, a younger woman who had once believed marriage meant partnership. She had met Daniel Hart when she was 23. He had been charming, ambitious, and struggling to build a small technology company. Elena had believed in him when nobody else did. She had worked 2 jobs while he built his company. She had handled invoices late at night, answered customer emails from their tiny apartment, cooked meals when he worked until dawn, and even sold her grandmother's jewelry to help cover the company's first payroll when investors pulled out. Daniel had promised her that one day they would build a life together. For years, he had kept that promise. Then money changed him. The company became successful. Their apartment became a penthouse. Their old car became a luxury SUV. Dinner became charity galas and private clubs. Daniel began surrounding himself with people who admired wealth more than character. And slowly, Elena became invisible. At first, it was small things. He stopped asking her opinion. Then he stopped inviting her to meetings. Eventually, he began introducing her as someone who helped him in the early days, as though she were an old. That being abandoned does not mean being worthless. And that the person who walks away from you may accidentally create the space you needed to become yourself. After the speech, Elena returned to the airport. A private jet waited on the runway. This time, she didn't feel like an accidental passenger. She belonged there. But before boarding, she stopped and looked back at the city. She thought about the woman who had walked out of the courthouse months earlier with one suitcase and tears in her eyes. That woman believed her life was over. Elena wished she could go back and tell her something. You are not finished. You are not forgotten. And you are not what someone else decided you were worth. The plane lifted into the sky. Below her, the city became smaller and smaller. Elena leaned against the window and smiled through tears. The divorce papers had ended her marriage. They had not ended her story. In fact, they had opened the first page of the chapter she was finally writing for herself. And somewhere far below, in a quiet building filled with women who needed another chance, the greatest proof of her transformation was already waiting. A woman who once believed she had lost everything was now giving other people a reason to believe they could begin again. If this story touched your heart, please don't just watch and move on. Like the video, share it with someone who may need a reminder that their hardest chapter is not their final chapter, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more emotional stories about courage, kindness, hope, and second chances. And before we end, I have a special request for you. Comment, I believe in second chances, if you believe that losing something can sometimes lead us towards something better. Your comment may be the small act of kindness that reminds another person watching this story that they are not alone. Because sometimes, the moment you think you have lost everything is actually the moment life finally gives you permission to discover who you were meant to be.